Hey guys, so today I'm going to be going over our very first Mythic Kel'Thuzad kill. And like normal, I'm not going to be going over all the mechanics and what they do, but more so how we chose to deal with the mechanics. So the first choice that you're going to have to make is comp. There really isn't too many variances when it comes to the healing side of things. Every guild's running 4 healers, and ideally you can bring as many damage reduction spells as possible. So we had Resto Shaman, Holy Paladin, Disc Priest, Resto Druid, and then we also had double DK for AMZ, double Warrior for Shout, and then a Darkness. So we had a lot of damage reduction spells. The other choice that you're going to have to make is who all is going to be going down to the Phylactery phase and who all is going to be staying up. The players that you send down to the Phylactery, you need to have like the right amount of burst. So what we had Eventer Boomkin, who did most of the kind of burst damage or heavy lifting in the phase. We had a Feral Druid, which is really high burst. We had Double Rogue, Holy Paladin, then Retribution Paladin. What you want is players that can, for the most part, do mechanics while doing good damage. I think, casters, our Boomkin, I think, struggled with this, which it's just a hard phase to be a caster in, honestly. But what a lot of the Phylactery is getting the boss down there low enough and then being able to execute it at the right time. I think that took us quite a bit of time to figure out how is that going to look with comp down there. We made quite a few swaps, as well as how to handle upstairs, right? Because you're both on the same timer of as soon as an ad dies upstairs, you have 10 seconds to kind of kill the ads, and then downstairs has to be able to execute the mob, or get it low enough and then execute it before time runs out down there or before things start respawning upstairs. So what we also did for kicks is we just placed world markers in 5 different locations, and we'd assign players a 1, 2, or 3 on those kicks. So this fight is a complete control fight above everything else.
Tickets. Kazaki third. And spikes are going to green or orange.
So in P1, we just sent all the spikes to orange and just nuked them down with the devoted. I think this is like what most squads do as well. And then my computer will lag out every time, because every time you do spikes, we just used every healing spell that we had, which is the strat. So when it comes to the soaks, it was me, the other tank, and like 2 or 3 other players were assigned to soaks each time. You don't want to overdo it, you don't want to underdo it, and really it comes down to how many priests you have. You don't want more players soaking than there is master spells.
Stop on Muscus.
So we call it stop on boss, and we're not going to be pushing the boss until about 2:05. You basically are constantly buying time for healing CDs to come back up by the next time that you have to do shards.
So gonna some double.
As a tank, you have so much time to go collect your soul.
Nothing on boss. Nothing.
Yeah. So on this full, the boss is like lower than I generally like it, but it works out. Yeah, you're gonna be doing a lot of waiting on this fight. It's super annoying. So you see the Soul Fracture cast, and then you want to have the boss in position where you can kill it during that cast.
Focus.
So what I would do every phase is I was responsible for tanking the rightmost abomination, and then what I would do is I would grab threat on whatever reavers are right, and then I would generally go left. And what both tanks should be trying to do in this phase is that you want to end the phase with the reavers being as close to the middle as possible, so that way you can like execute them all at the same time pretty easily.
Alright, blues.
So what we did is we had 3 players, or in some cases 4, depending the ad, assigned to a kick. And then what's really tricky about this phase is if the ad starts casting, it starts the next counter on the kick. So you can see on blue, I'm assigned a 4th kick, but since the 3rd kick went off, the player that kicked 3rd ended up kicking 4th, and it reset to 1. So it can get pretty confusing, and what you just need to have is just good communication, and it'll take practice in this phase.
10 seconds.
So for pretty much every phase except for the last phase, the call I would make is 10 seconds, which means downstairs has to kill in 10 seconds, and upstairs we have 10 seconds to kill all the ads.
Upstairs.
So we're just trying to get everything low.
Okay, you guys can come up.
I call it they can come up.
That's cute.
And we had a really clean push. Which most of the time is not going to look like that. That was super fucking clean.
Alright, take ads.
Izaki first.
Okay, there's one part tank ads. Star, guys. Spikes are going to green. Okay, this next set will be Shovel's Roar and melee. Look forward and work your way in after your kick.
So for this set of spikes, we took them to green. And what you have to do, or at least what we had to do for this set, is the soul fracture kind of in 4 seconds. You can see like here on the left that the healing CDs are pretty much back up, right? We have our AMZs, Spirit Link Totems coming in 4 seconds. What we had to do was kill the tank ads as fast as possible. Then we assigned players to damage the spikes. And you want to kill these fast so that way the 3rd time you're fighting KT, the healing spells will be up in time. Because you can delay this phase a bit, but you basically the way that you buy your 3 minutes is by nuking this set a little bit faster. This will be completely a fight that comes down to like being able to delay seconds or buy time for CDs to come back up. That's a lot of what the fight is.
Go.
So we used a roar here. We assigned players that aren't kicking circle to go far, then work their way in. As you can see, we're grouping up. The ranged players are working on the spikes, and we use all our healing spells. I can Peter roll for each for like 3 seconds. Like 5 seconds?
This game.
Yeah. Fucking sucks.
Chill on boss, guys. You're on tank ads.
So our next push timing is going to be, I believe, to beat Soul Fracture 4. So like at about 5 minutes is when we want to push. I think it ends up being like 4:55 or something.
Soaking this on Tago. Get the boss like 4%.
So what you want to do is you want to be able to get the boss low enough so you can execute in a small window, but you don't want to
Sure.
get it too low. And I think here we actually end up pushing a couple seconds too fast, which might have screwed us.
Arcade and stop. Stop.
So I still think, yeah, I said 4:55, but I think 5 minutes is still like 1 or 2 seconds too fast. Which you'll see how close it is in the next phase. So you want to establish decent threat on these Reavers because they will, if they don't have threat, they'll just melee the closest person to them. So I'm assigned to 4 blue.
You get damage on my A bomb, it's fine.
It's kind of a bad call to say my A bomb because it's
Focus A bombs 10 seconds.
So I call it 10 seconds, and then what will generally happen during prog is like one ad will be fucking high, and so you kind of want, if you're like upstairs, you want to be like directing traffic as like what do you want to be focusing. And ideally this blue Banshee is towards the middle because you can see it's not in the Wild Spirits, it's not going to be in any of the cleave.
Alright, look at blue. Look at blue.
So they come up, and generally this is what the room would look like. I think we might lose one player to this Banshee. We'll see. But this is that was a totally fine push.
Good job. Guys.
Mizaki gets to get first.
So this silence in particular is really tricky because this will be the most players that will be silenced ever in the fight. And the players that are about to be silenced will have trouble getting their kicks, so a lot of the times we'll have to just cover kicks in this phase.
Lots of silences here. Spikes are going to green. We are not using any damage on these spikes.
Yeah, so what's really important too is we don't touch those spikes at all with anything. We even like said our boom can't start fall just for a cleave. Like just nothing can go on the spikes because it's so close with the healing spells coming back up in time.
Here, killing these tank gods and getting safe. Everyone's on tank god. Soaking on mirror. Alright, get safe, get safe, get safe. Look at home.
So you can see the spikes will naturally tick down. I call look for home. Spirit Link still has 10 seconds, and Spirit Link is make or break for this fight.
Rip the defensive. Just everything to live here.
So Spirit Link barely comes up in time. Like I said, this fight will be a matter of seconds for the 3-minute CDs. During this one as well, we used APT, and then everyone was required to use a class defensive for this.
Good tank ads, and we did a little bit of damage on boss.
I think that is the hardest point of the fight.
Got it.
I get solo.
Okay. Missed a kick. Yep, get some damage on the boss, guys.
Yeah, what's tricky too is sometimes this one's
Get
really
to
hard to
5.
see. So the push Tommy to downstairs in this phase doesn't fucking matter that much, honestly. Like what we just generally wait for is the room to be clear and then we push.
Chill on boss, chill, chill, chill.
But you're not really buying time for much in this phase.
Good. Focus.
So what's tricky about this next set is that the phylactery phase has the added mechanic of the tornadoes. So a little bit more mechanically challenging, but the boss has half of its health that it normally does, right? So first push is 100 to 60, second push is 60 to 20, the last push is 20 to 0. So you need players down there, but you don't want to overcommit down there, but you don't want to undercommit either, right? So we had to experiment with this, I think, like 2 or 3 times before we got it to where we wanted to. I think we sent down the Feral Druids, both Rogues, and the Paladins, but we kept the Boomkin upstairs, if I remember correctly. And then upstairs, it's just a matter of getting your kicks. And I found this phase in particular to be kind of hard to shot call, honestly. I'd still try the 10-second of like, okay, you guys come up now, or 10 seconds. But it was kind of tricky. So we only have threat on these ones on the right, so I'm trying to get some threat on them.
Stop DPS.
And watch.
Yeah, so we had someone downstairs that would kind of coach them. You know, she called out stop
Skull.
DPS.
Skull damage.
And we kill Skull way too fucking fast upstairs. But it kind of works out for us.
Get 10 seconds. Right, you guys can come up whenever.
Kill.
So it's kind of a bad call on my end. I should have called 10 seconds way
We
faster.
got an extra Banshee.
So what we get here, and I think we just ended up getting super lucky, is we got an extra Banshee. But because of its spawn timing, for some reason we could kick it. So I think if it respawns once the boss is already out, you can interrupt it. that's not right. If it respawns before the boss is out, you can still kick it. One of the two. It doesn't fucking matter. You shouldn't play around it. But we got lucky and we could kick it. I didn't know when I made the call, so I said everyone just focus the Reaver.
Everyone focus the Banshee. Focus the Banshee. The Reaver. Just health pots and just darkness move. Darkness on the group.
We can interrupt it for some reason.
Oh, cool. Listen. First soaks on Tuggo.
So what you don't want to get baited on in this phase is everyone's gonna try to soak this, right? But it's kind of pointless because basically what happens is just the entire raid's gonna get rooted, and if you're close to ice, then you're just gonna die. So I made the clear call of like, okay, the only player assigned to soak this, and then everyone past this, we just suicided. And I think we got pretty lucky with our ice spawns in this phase. So we got ice spawn to our left, and like I knew this area to X was probably gonna be safe. Then we also got pretty lucky.
Just the soak people. We're going towards X. Nith, you'll be picking up ads. Nith is grabbing ads here.
So with the ad spawns that I say we got lucky because we have one Reaver close, which means players that don't have a range kick can easily kick Skull to where range can focus on the far. What we didn't get lucky, I'd say, or like what I think we should have outplayed more is like controlling these devoted to make sure that they're not in their raid, because they're just gonna focus someone and try to blow up.
Range, look at kick. Look at X and look at Skull. Melee, you can help kick Skull. Watch your feet. You just be resolute. Just die. Resolute now. Look at X kick. Look at X kick. Get that haunted out of the group.
Yeah, for sure.
X. Mirrors dies. Fuck yeah, guys.
Yeah, so that's the kill. I think what this fight completely comes down to is it's just control. So making sure you're pushing the boss at the right times, managing your kicks, and then in the intermission, managing your DPS with the ads. You don't want too much, you don't want too little, and then same downstairs. So cool. Well, that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. You can follow me on Twitch off in the description, and it also includes multiple different people from my guild if you want to check out their Twitch as well. All right, thank you.